Right to life. What?
I'll have to read up on it, sir.
Good afternoon. Please sit down. Mr. Abhijit, is this your first attempt at the services?
No, sir, this is not. This is my first interview.
Okay, and how many times have you appeared?
Total, I have appeared 4 times, sir.
4 times. But you were working for this, for 4 years you worked with the Texas Instruments, right? So that's a very leading company, isn't it? So what made you check that job and try for the civil services?
So it's primarily the diversity and challenge that civil services offers which attracted.
You didn't find diversity and challenge there in software?
So but it was only diversity inside the software field which.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Yes. Right to life. What does it mean under Article 21? What protection does it give?
So it's a very broad and constantly evolving provision of our constitution. It's under Article 21, which is the Supreme Court keeps on expanding it. For example, recently the right to privacy has been brought under the Article 21. So overall, if we have to say in a summary what right to life and personal liberty, it is the sum total of all the rights that allow human beings to live a dignified life and a fulfilling one where they can fulfill their complete potential, I would say.
How has this Menka Gandhi case changed the meaning of an import of Article 20?
So, if I recall, it broadened the understanding of the Article 21.
What is the difference between procedure established by law, which is there, and due process of law? Menka Gandhi interpreted it as
due process of law, which is broader, and earlier it was the procedure.
What difference? What is the difference between procedure established by law and due process?
So the basic difference is that legislative action versus executive action, whichever is judicially reviewable. So Menka Gandhi case, it brought the due process of law. That means both the legislative action as well as the executive action is under the purview of judicial review. Is that what I can recall, sir?
Yes, you are very, very correct. The law has to be fair, just and reasonable. Not that any law passed by the legislature can impinge upon your right to life. How do you justify death sentence in this when you have a right to life?
I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't catch the question.
We also have death sentence.
Oh, death sentence. So the Supreme Court has said that death sentence is constitutional, but there is the rarest of the rare cases which shakes even the basic fundamental conscience of our society. So apart from that, I'm unable to formulate an opinion on this.
Okay, Balwant Singh Rajwana, he was in news recently.
Sir, I'm unable to recall. Sir.
Then let us move to principles of natural justice. What are principles of natural justice?
So one principle that I can remember is every person has a right to be heard. So in fact, that's the only one I can recall. I can remember that there are some institutions which follow the principle of natural justice. What is?
Nationalism.
Nationalism. A love for your country, and it involves patriotism as well.
Fundamental duties. Are you aware of fundamental duties? Does it talk about nationalism? Does it, in a sense, define nationalism?
It talks about the duties that a person who loves his country or looks for the welfare of his country should do. So in that way, we can definitely say, sir, that it indirectly pushes for nationalism.
Okay. Now, how do we remove judges? What are the grounds on which a judge can be?
There are 2 grounds, sir. One is incapacity, and the other is, sir, I'm unable to recall the second ground, but basically
it is proved misbehavior.
Proved misbehavior.
Why proved misbehavior? Why proved?
So because there has to be a constitution of a examining body by the judges themselves who will investigate this, which will be the report will be submitted to the parliament. That, I guess, is the understanding that proved.
You are correct.
And then there is the 2/3 special majority.
What is extradition?
a national of country A who goes to country B by fleeing country A, he can be extradited back to country A. That would be extradition. So, and there has to be some legal ground for which the
It is a legal process, a judicial process. But we faced certain problems with regard to that, and we have enacted a new law, which is Fugitive Economic Offenders Act.
yes, sir.
How does that help?
Firstly, sir, it gives clarity on who is a fugitive economic offender. There are special courts that are constituted who can say that this person is a fugitive offender, and there is mechanisms where his or her property can be attached, and this is done so that the person is pushed in a way to come back to India and defend
Yes, attached in India as well as abroad.
abroad.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Abhijit, tell me something about Satyajit Ray.
So he was a very famous director. He was a multifaceted personality basically. He was the son of Sukumar Ray, and he was the only recipient of the Lifetime Achievement Oscar. His most famous work is the direction of the movie Pather Panchali, the Opus trilogy basically, and because of which it was his first film, and because of which he got the worldwide recognition. And so he was also the creator of a very famous character in detective, for example, called Feluda, and even Professor Shonku. So these are the things that I can remember, sir.
Is his film Jolsha?
No, sir, but I have heard of it.
What is it about?
Sir, I cannot recall.
Okay. Just mind. Tell me whether the 5G network, development of it, would help us in our military efforts?
5G basically reduces latency and increases.
No, yes or no first, and then give the reason. Yes or no?
Definitely, sir, it would help.
Now you tell me how.
So 5G has some specific advantages apart from 4G, which is speed and reduction of latency. I mean, even basically speaking, these would be advantageous to any group that is able to use it. And so there is interconnectedness of devices which is possible better through 5G.
I'm not asking the advantages. I'm asking whether it will be advantageous in military warfare as an instrument. With that focus you keep. How will it be helpful? Suppose we lay down a 5G network.
So can I take a guess, because I'm not aware of the.
Should I say again?
Sorry, sir.
Should I repeat it?
No, sir. Can I take a guess?
Yes, sir.
So from what I know in my limited knowledge, the range of 5G has to be continuously amplified, because the range is less, but it allows faster communication. So in that sense, the smaller battle groups that are there in defense, they can be benefited, sir. But that is a very
Try to imagine from Internet of Things, whether 5G will help Internet of Things.
Yes, sir. 5G specifically allows us better interconnectedness of devices, and because of the speed and reduction in latency, it is.
So now you think of a military or a war. In a war situation, how 5G will be helpful.
So the various arms who are and the various regiments who are deployed in a battle situation, they can intercommunicate better. Would be my.
You are right. Now, where are we stuck in 5G, laying down of the 5G network all across India?
So, in terms of bottleneck, is what you're asking, or?
Well, I mean, why we are not able to? We should have done last year in month of August. Ambani had said.
So the primary reason that comes to my mind is the lack of infrastructure, in the sense that the optical fiber cables that go to the nook and corners of the country, that is not completed, or in fact it is even it is much is left to be desired. I think even less than 50% of what is targeted has been achieved.
What about the price of the spectrum?
So very recently it came out that even though so the budget said that 2022 will be the year when the spectrum will be auctioned, and TRAI has put a very high reserve price for the spectrum, which is
Actually, cut it down.
Cut it down.
Government has put it very high.
Sorry, sir. Sorry, sir.
You don't know. They have cut it down by 40%. But the industry says it is still expensive.
It is still expensive. Yes.
What is the range of the spectrum in terms of gigahertz at which we do operate?
Sir, I am unable to recall the exact number.
Do you recall apart?
I did know, but I am unable to recall. It's more than what it was in 4G. It's in giga.
Obviously, it has to be more. Gigahertz it is. And related concept is millimeter waves. What is that?
Sir, so these are microwaves, and millimeter wave is basically one equation in wave propagation is f lambda is equal to c. So if this is in gigahertz, if you do the calculation, this comes in millimeter range, the wavelength. So that is why it's called millimeter.
So millimeter will be wavelength of which one?
Wavelength of the electromagnetic wave, the microwave that is used to. Yes, sir.
And what about the signal which is in the range of 5G, 3.3 to 3.67? What about that?
Sir, I'm unable.
Anyway, you read about it, their linkage. And there are other problems also, like connecting the optical fiber with the towers. There is a lot of red tapeism involved with that, and the government policy is not clear. So you'll have to go that way. Okay. And what is NFT? Non-fungible token.
So it's a blockchain based mechanism by which digital art or any digital piece of any digital forgetting the term, so let's say digital art, it's a mechanism through blockchain where the ownership of that is assigned to a person, and it is called non-fungible because it cannot be tampered with, it cannot be
exchanged. It can be exchanged or not exchanged.
It can be bought and sold
as such.
Yes, sir. And it cannot be divided into smaller parts.
But can something be added to a token?
Yes, sir, definitely, because the blockchain technology allows in terms of a distributed ledger system, any addition made here has to be approved in all the parts. So, but it can be added.
Will Reserve Bank depend on blockchain when going for digital currency?
Yes, sir, it's a blockchain.
There is no other technology.
So blockchain has certain advantages because of which the Reserve Bank wants to bring in the CBD.
Okay. What about quantum computers? Do they also depend on blockchain or similar technology for doing faster computation?
So the basic reason why the faster computation is because normal computers is binary 0 and 1, whereas quantum computing, all the intermediate stages between 0 and 1 can be used for the calculation purposes. That's
even 0, 1, say 0.5.
Something similar. So I don't know the exact numbers. I don't even know if it exists, but the intermediate states is what is called that can be used for the calculation.
Why not intermediate then? Why to call it quantum?
So because it depends on it's explained by quantum mechanics.
Only at certain stage they can be used, not all. Let us say in that case 0.2 will not be used, perhaps.
Okay, so I stand corrected.
तो बड़ा इसको पढ़ लेना भाई. अफगानिस्तान का थोड़ा बताओ कि क्या होने जा रहा है वहाँ पे और हिंदुस्तान को क्या करना चाहिए to have good relations with Afghanistan, और ये अफगानिस्तान को क्या करना चाहिए?
Yes, sir. So post the US exit, the selected government rather than the elected government has come up, which is the Taliban regime. They are trying to portray themselves as best as possible a respecter of human rights. So they had the Oslo Accords also, the Oslo Conference, where with the EU members. So in terms of what India is doing, India is giving aid at this moment, and it is basically backtrack diplomacy that's going on. And what India should do, in my opinion, sir, there is no other option as of today apart from engaging actively with the Taliban, because they are here to stay, sir.
And what they should do is to increase terrorism in our area.
That is definitely not desirable by India, sir, and it's not desirable in the entire region, sir.
They might be doing it.
Yes, sir. And that is why we need to engage diplomatically with them to bring these questions on the table and discuss.
They be pursued through diplomatic channels, not to.
So we can move forward with cautious optimism.
Why they are unhappy with Pakistan now?
So there is a faction called TTP who is in Pakistan, which wants to establish the Sharia law and fight with the Pakistani army. Now they are ideologically similar to the Taliban in Afghanistan, and this is creating problems for Pakistan itself.
Are they related to IS Khorasan also at Iranian border?
The Islamic State, sir?
The PPT, PTT, Pakistan Taliban. Does it have links with IS Khorasan also?
Yes, sir, I will not be able to say on that.
Thank you.
Yes, Abhijit, anthropology. Okay. Who is Homo? What is Homo naledi?
Sorry, ma'am?
Homo naledi in anthropology.
Naledi, I'm sorry, ma'am.
A very, very important discovery.
Recently?
No, in 2013, quite recent. In South Africa, Rising Star Cave. Famous group of fossils. Okay, tell that. Now, you are doing reflective, composing reflective poetry. What do you mean by that?
Ma'am, reflective poems are thoughts put in words, basically.
Poetic form.
As opposed to lyrical poems where you put your feelings in words. So, yes, ma'am. So, for example,
More intellectual, is it? More intellectual, is it?
I thought even thoughts go into poems. Okay. You write in English or in Bengali?
in English.
In English. Okay, very good. You are published in your field?
No, ma'am. I want to someday when I have enough quantity. As of today, it's just I have around 10-15 that I've written.
Okay. Now, you would have heard of Russia's Far East, right? What is that region?
Trans-Siberia.
Now, India and Russia have some collaboration there. Do you know what are the projects? We also have a what you call Far East Forum, you know. Our Prime Minister went last year in September. What is the interest of India and Russia in this Far East?
The interest of Russia, I would say, is diversification of its ability to sell oil or sell natural gas to India. There is the Chennai-Vladivostok sea route that I think probably you're referring to.
Which would cut the distance by half, right? And allows India to have an
Alternative to the Suez route, yes.
Okay, what else? Why is Russia keen on developing the Far East? It's a very underdeveloped region.
Yes, ma'am. Because of the terrain and the cold climate.
And also proximity that side to China, no? Who have made inroads there. Why is India interested in this region?
India wants to balance out with China probably.
Yes, because of the BRI on that side, and also gets it closer to South China Sea. So the Prime Minister also announced a line of credit, no, for development.
In that region?
Yes.
I am not aware, ma'am.
Okay. Are there oil fields? Do we have stake in oil fields there?
Ma'am, I vaguely recall there was one or two oil fields that I read during the prelims time. I cannot recall the name, ma'am.
Okay, doesn't matter. Now tell me what you know about the Blue Dot Network.
Ma'am, it's a alternative growth story that is being projected by the West to the CPEC or to the BRI. Yes, ma'am. Coming from the West. It's the West's version of greater engagement with countries.
Okay. Who are the main members in it?
The NATO countries, I would say.
Australia, because of the proximity to the Indo-Pacific. So what does the Blue Dot Network mean? Why Blue Dot? What is this name?
Ma'am, I'll have to take a guess. It wants to reduce the chances of debt trap diplomacy, probably. And probably there is an organization which ensures that there is fair loans being given out.
And all the projects are sound?
Yes, ma'am.
But why Blue Dot? What's that? Why
There probably is an organization which has a similar name, but that's a guess, ma'am.
It's because from the sky, space, Earth is a blue dot. When you see it, so
Pale blue dot.
yeah, blue dot initiative. All right. You are also, you have given foreign service as your preference option. Tell me something about the gender parity in the foreign service. Do you know? Can you see a lot of women foreign secretaries?
Ma'am, we had a female foreign secretary a few years back.
Out of how many male foreign secretaries?
Yes, ma'am. So there is a gender.
So you don't know the percentage?
No, ma'am. I will not be able to say.
And does the foreign service have a training institute apart from the training in Missouri?
Yes, ma'am. There is one.
What is it called?
Foreign Services Institute, I think.
Yeah, but they changed the name.
I'm sorry, ma'am.
Sushma Swaraj Foreign Service Institute. Alright, you have joined the foreign service, you are posted out as an office diplomat who will handle political affairs. What does that mean? What do you think your duties would be?
As a handler of political.
You will be a diplomat in, say, in Paris, and you will look after political affairs.
Ma'am, I think in the primary days, from what I've heard, if there is a person who is involved in political affairs, he or she has to note down all the political events that goes on in that country, and report it back to the country. That involves reading the newspaper on a daily basis, noting the points.
Watching the news, keeping contacts with
political attaches.
people, political officers of other embassies posted there. What else?
And that's all I can.
Helping our government in understanding who are the people that matter over there and getting them to visit India, or getting visitors from India for political talks.
The posturing that India would have if there is a new political development.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Abhijit, what is the meaning of your name, Abhijit?
So when my parents named me, they had 2 points in mind from what I've been told. One is that Abhijit means someone who is victorious, and the second is Abhijit is the Sanskrit name of the star Vega, which was.
Name of Krishna?
Sir, I am not aware of that.
There's this issue of Swagat Ray, who is an MP from West Bengal. Heard of him? He made some statement which was very controversial or which was quite explosive. What was that in the recent context? Are you able to recall?
No, sir.
There was something he said with the Chief Minister herself being a woman. Even one case of a case against him. You are not staying in West Bengal nowadays. You are staying in Bengal. Where are you staying?
I'm staying for the last few days. I'm here, but I haven't followed that specific.
Where do you stay?
It's in Bongo Bhavan,
Otherwise, back home?
in Siliguri, sir.
Okay, you are a Siliguri. There was this case of one rape of a girl and all that in that context. This was mentioned. Okay, Jharkhand. Are you following what is happening there? The Chief Minister of Jharkhand. Can you name him?
Mr. Soren, I think.
Yeah. Hemant Soren. He has been in news. Any idea what's happening?
Sir, I cannot recall, sir.
What about Boris Johnson? He was also in news for some controversy. 2 of them.
So he visited India as the Prime Minister, and he took a picture in front of a bulldozer, because of which he landed in controversies.
Why should he a picture against a bulldozer? Why should it trigger a controversy? What was the controversy?
The controversy was not specifically related to the picture, but the connections that was made with what was going on in other parts of the country.
Namely,
They being bulldozers being used to raise down illegal.
on that, GST revenue collections have been reported to be the highest in April. Any figure, rough ballpark?
6-8 lakh crores.
Very good, very good. What about Sri Lanka again? They have reported about inflation being at the highest. What's the any figure?
It's more than, I think, 15%.
It is 30%.
30%, sir.
Yes, that's what the last figure says, 30%. Run away. Runaway inflation. Okay. Uh, the Supreme Court has come up with a judgment yesterday. Can you connect it? What was that?
No, sir. I about.
Vaccination.
Oh, so it said that no person can be coerced to take vaccine in a country. On, I think, right to life and personal liberty, sir.
For all times to come?
So that part I'm not aware, sir.
Okay. Have you heard of Vishaka guidelines? Can you just quickly give a, what does it involve?
It involves an institutional mechanism in every company to, first of all, have a mechanism for reporting as well as investigating in a stipulated amount of time cases of sexual harassment against members of that company, sir. And there should be an internal investigative committee for that.
What is criminal identification act, procedure identification act amendment?
So it allows the government to collect biological samples apart from fingerprints and for I'm unable to recall the exact number of years of punishment, but it basically 7, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Abhishek, Abhijit, can you tell me something about the scheme in West Bengal for helping the farmers?
Helping the farmers, sir.
Payment, grants being given. You have the Kalia scheme in Odisha, Raitu Bandhu, Telangana. Central government has a scheme.
Right, sir.
Anything?
I'll have to read up on it, sir.
Krishak Bandhu scheme is what you have in your state, right? Now, tell me, you belong to Siliguri. Sometime back, there was this huge demand for Gurkha land.
Yes, sir.
Which continued for many, many years. And even during the run-up to the assembly elections, the BJP, which was hoping to do well, had also made certain statements that we will sort out your grievances. So what is the problem with this? What is the grievance which the Gurkhas feel? And why do they want a separate state?
So they want a separate state for multiple reasons. The first is that they think, or it is opined that it's a geographically separate entity from the rest of Bengal because of the hills. Secondly, the ethnic identity is completely different. They are Gorkhas, Nepalis, Sherpas, who have a different language, different dance, different cultural traits. And also, sir, there is a sense of lack of development, that the Darjeeling region has been left out in the entire growth agenda of Bengal. These are the three primary.
But is that a fact? That there has been because at one point of time, Darjeeling, people going for tourism to West Bengal, Darjeeling was the focal point, and Siliguri.
It still is the focal point, sir, but the thing is, the benefits of that has not percolated down to the common man. Yes, sir, that it's a reality, sir, that the people strongly feel that the Darjeeling has been left out.
And you have all the tea gardens in that area?
Yes, sir.
So how is it? Because tea gardens would provide labor, they would to the local people. Then I'm not very clear. How is it that the area? This is what the Gurkhas say. That Gurkha leadership used to say this. But on the ground, is that factually correct?
Yes, sir. About your point about the tea gardens, sir, it has been continuously in the news that the staff of tea gardens is being reduced very gradually, and the working conditions is not up to the mark. There is high scarcity of water and basic amenities for even a roof over their heads. The laws that are there for the management of the tea gardens, that is not being followed properly. Sir, in my opinion, just to add to how the tea gardens can be improved and...
No, that's all right. That's a different issue. Okay. Now tell me, during the presidency of Mr. Trump, he had tried to bring about some peace between Israel and the neighbors. And there was a series called the Abraham Accords. What were these accords?
So Israel has a historical conflict with the Arab countries, and this Ibrahim Accords was specifically for Israel to start diplomatic channels or diplomatic relations with I think Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, if I'm not wrong, sir.
Arabia was already there. UAE and Bahrain.
UAE and Bahrain.
And not for Israel to start, it was the other way around. Because these countries refused to recognize Israel, isn't it? That is the crux of the issue. What about the Palestinian issue? Why is it that the Palestinian issue, even the other day there was firing and violence? What is the crux of the issue there?
The crux of the issue is that the Palestinians feel that they have been driven out of their own land because of the Israeli forces, and the Jerusalem area, I can't recall the exact name, the West Bank region is slowly and but surely being reduced in geographical area, which is the place where the Palestinians largely live, sir.
So what is Israel's capital now?
Tel Aviv, sir.
Is it Tel Aviv?
Sir, I
Or have they shifted to Jerusalem?
sir, I am unable to say.
So we end your mock interview.
Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon to never miss an update.